Okay, what's your name? Sagej, what's your name? And where are you from? And who are you in this community?
Okay. Talusan nin, Keptin, Sagej Malnal, Wedje, Tet, right here in Migamoggy. My name is Keptin Jim Bernard, and I'm from Migamoggy, right here in the unceded land of the Mi'kmaq. This is my home, and I've lived here most of my life. I've done a little bit of traveling. I lived up around Massachusetts for quite a number of years. I've been all over Maine. Lived in Halifax for about 5 years. During all this time, I was a house painter. You know, I did a lot of traveling, and I never really was a person to settle down. You know, until I got too old to roam. And then I came back home. I finally got back to Lennox Island, and I started fishing, lobster fishing. Well, I wasn't very good at the lobster fishing, managing one boat and everything. So the band decided I should manage 10 boats, 16 boats. And there was boats all over the place, right? So I was the manager of that for 16 years or something like that. But it was a busy job. And then I started to get burnt out over it. You know, it was just too much at the end of it. And I was retired. And then I have a hard time settling down, so I decided I'll go back into trying to make some baskets. Because we were never taught how to make baskets as growing up, right? Nobody came in here and actually taught you how to make a basket. But what you did was you saw it done on a daily basis. It was done every day. The pounding of the ash was done in the basement. The weaving was done in the living room. You know, everything was done right in the house. You know, the shaving like this right here, everything was done right in the house. There was no outside shed for anything like that. Everything was done right in the house. So you saw it being done every day. The young guys like us, we were out there and we'd do all the pounding of the ash by hand. We didn't have machines for them. You know, it was like the back of an axe and hitting it until it started to split open, right? So I did a lot of the bottoms, making the bottoms for potato baskets, such as that one there, right? I did a lot of that, but the actual weaving up the baskets, I didn't do any of that. My mother did most of all that kind of work, right?
Who was that?
Dorothy Sark Bernard. Yeah, she did all the weaving. And she was quite good at it. She would be sitting on the floor most of the time with a crooked knife. That's one of those knives you see up there in the corner there. And she'd be shaving down the strips, right? And that you hear that sound of the knife going through the strips all the time. So it's a comforting sound. You know, it's a very comforting sound. So this is how I learned to make the baskets, by just watching. And you had to watch because there wasn't a whole lot more to do. We didn't have no TV or radios or anything back then. So it was just weaving of baskets. Like, you know. Now, when we sell baskets now, people still complain about price of the baskets, right? So I tell them you should come to one of my demonstrations, and I could show you what actually goes through to making the baskets. Number one, we have to go quite a distance to get the black ash, and that's very costly, you know. And with the price of gas, you know, you have to try to get some of your money back. But anyways, as you can tell, it's nice and cozy in here. You know, it's not cold. It's a nice place to be for me, to get away from everything, and to create, to make things. you know, to be busy with my hands all day. I love making baskets, you know. I've been asked about it before, and I used to say it's therapeutic, right? Until I started making them little ones. Near drove me crazy, trying to get that bottom, the round bottom. It started off with eight strips, right? And 8 strips were quite easy to do, you know. You just put them down just right, and you can just wrap them right up around there. It's practically nothing, right? And then you get to the 10 strips, and then 12 strips. And then you can go up to 16 strips, right? That is something else. You know, it'll drive you crazy. To make a basket like this is just the bottom. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 is the bottom of the basket. Now, if you're going to make a top for that basket, it's going to have to be a little bigger. So now you need 12 strips. So the top is going to be 12 of these things going around here. And as you can see, from the bottom there, it's just like an X, right? So you'll think, well, that's pretty easy. Just an X on an X on an X on an X on an X all the way through. Now, weave that in there. See, it's got to be one up and one down, one up and one down, one up and one down, all the way through. And if you don't get them just right, it's not going to work for you. No matter what you do, it's not going to work for you. So when you're doing this, and you get from A back around to here, the trick is you have to jump over not one but two. All right, you have to jump over two. Otherwise, you'll screw up again. You'll have a mess. So that was another thing that you had to do was, because I'd get to that point and I'd be looking at Jojo and I said, look, how am I going to get over this? And he'd say, just jump it. And sometimes it just doesn't work out for you. Sometimes it won't, because all of these X's, if they're not placed exactly where they're supposed to play, you'd have to move one from here to there, right? And when you did that, you kind of screwed up the whole thing, unless you know what you're doing. So what I end up doing in my practices of trying to get that, because I could never get to 16. So what I did was I'd do an 8, and I'd wrap the 8 once, and then I'll get the 8 strips and put them back on it, and then I'll do it again. This time I could get them that way, but then at the end of it, I'd have to take this strip, snip it, and pull it back out again. All right, so you wouldn't know that I was cheating. But that was always the tricks of the trade, like, you know, and I seen that in several places wherever I go and I see people that were making baskets or selling baskets. I want to see how that they did that. And a lot of them won't take that out. They just leave it there, you know. With 16 strips, they just go once, twice, and stop. And then start all over again. Put them right on top of each other, and then go around like this. And then you'll see the inside layer in here, and then the outside. All right, and that was a lot of concentration to do that. This is a shaving horse.
Yeah.
All right. What it is actually it's a clamp to hold down the wood while we're working on it. Okay, and I'll just demonstrate how it works. All right, this here is a piece of black ash that I had outside in a puddle to keep it wet. All right. This is a draw knife, and what I do with it is I sit down, get nice and comfortable, and get my clamp on there good, right? And then I use the knife smooth that gets? This is the process we do just before we pound the ash, because you can't pound it in the rough. This tree wants to be shaved from this side
How do you know?
because she cuts, breaks out on me. When I'm trying to shave, it digs in. And that's what it should do, like this. So when I get it down fairly even, then I turn it around and do this side. When I get both sides done, we'll just take a little bit off the top just to make it flat. Because when you put it through the pounding and it's not flat, it'll probably break. Now when I got 3 sides done, we'll just turn it right around to the back and debark. Well, we usually get them probably when they're about that big around, eh? And I can't tell you for certain how old that tree would be, but each one of these little lines that you see here, each one of those lines represents a year's growth, all right? Each one of these lines are also a strip. All right, and if you look closely at this, you'll see where it's light, that's the actual strip. Now you see in between there where it's dark, that's a hard powder. It's a very hard powder, okay, which forms, I'm assuming, in the wintertime. Now, when I say we're going to put that through the pounding, what I'm actually saying is we're going to smash up all that powder. All right, when you smash up all that powder, it just opens up for you to be strips. This is the stripper. So what I do is I just put it in this hole here, and it comes up through the side, and then I'll pull it in here like this. Then I'll put my choker back on it. And now at this time, usually I have a cut here, and I'll pull it apart like this. I'll just pull it down like that, all right? And that'll split that just as neat as anything. I could do it with one of these because this is wet, but this has been sitting in the house for days, right? And I can't do it with this because it'll break. But there, you could almost see it right there, see? That's how she should come apart like that, all right? Some of those strips in this, you may get 2, some you're going to get 3. And if you're really patient, some you'll get 4 out of 1 strip. Okay, and that's a very thin strip, very thin. You could just about see right through it, you know. Now, this is the process you have to do before you go to the pounder. Now, people out in the woods, the natives that go out in the woods and actually make their baskets in the woods, they don't have this in the woods, right? So what they would do is they would get it up against a tree here and another tree in the back here, and then they'd just shave it that way. No matter where you go, it's going to get a different name, right? Now, if you were a hunter, it would be a meat basket. If you're a fisherman, put a hole up here, it'll be a fishing basket. Now, if you're way up north where there's they get a lot of birds and stuff like this, it'll be a feather basket, all right? And there's no wrong name for it. It's whatever you're going to use it for. That's what it is, all right? Now, when I was talking to you before about the bottom and the tops of the baskets, here's your bottom, and it's got 10 strips on it, 10 strips around on that bottom part, all right? So in here, you're going to see the sweetgrass. See the sweetgrass up around here? It's just a filler that I used so that it won't look so bare, okay? So we put sweetgrass around here, and it's a good seller too. Once you get the sweetgrass in there, it's a good seller. Now, this is a lot more than that, because you can see even the strips are smaller, all right? And there's a lot more strips to it. There should be 2 more than on here. So if that's 10 here, it'll be 12 here. If that's 12 here, it'll be 14 here, all right? 2 more bigger. And look at the way that top is. Isn't that amazing? It doesn't go flat across. It just comes out in a little curve, right? That's my technique here.
What's this?
Okay. Now, I love that basket. It turned out pretty good. These baskets here are the rib baskets. And these are the Mariah style, all right? And this is called the Eye of God, right there. And the reason why it's called that, it's because it goes all the way around the world. It holds the world together. So it's seeing everything. Eh? It's the eye of God. Now, to make these baskets, this is the first basket I made in an awful long time. You can almost tell by looking at it. But I used to make a lot of these way back 30 years ago or something like that. But these are different types of round bottom baskets. This one was just put together to see if I could do it. Now, I had something in mind for it. It was supposed to be a top for one of those other baskets, but as it turned out, I didn't use it. These are another gathering basket, and it's a rib basket again. I don't know if I made that or Joe John. I think I did. Yeah. See, and this is the same thing as the eye of God, right? Like I said, it holds the whole basket together. These here are feather boxes. Now, I had an order from Parks Canada came down here one day, and they asked me if I could make some. And I asked them what they wanted. They said, well, why don't you just make us 10? We'll come down and pick them up. So I made them 10 boxes without the feather on it, or without this on it, just the 10 boxes. So they came down and got the 10 boxes plus a couple of baskets. I don't know how many baskets, but they gave me $2,000 anyways. So I showed these to another woman in Charlottetown. And she says, how much you want for that? And I said, well, I sold them for $120. She says, put a feather on here, coat of varnish on here, and I will give you 200. I said, you got it. There you are. Now I have eagle feathers, but they don't go in the boxes, all right? There's some there, and there's a wing here. They won't go in the boxes because you can't sell an eagle feather. You cannot sell an eagle feather. It's a very sacred thing for the Mi'kmaq.
I never saw the one like that.
Huh?
I never saw the three things. That's cool.
So that's what I mean about breaking all that stuff inside there. And that pounder does a good job. Yeah, that's the black ash before we split her, because we'll split it right here, right?
How do you know it's good
How do I know it's good?
when you're looking at for it?
Well, mostly What we're looking at is these lines that come down here. That's pretty straight. Now, the other thing is there's no knots. All right, there's a little knot here, but like I said, once you split it in a pie shape, then you're gonna bring it down to this. All right, then you'll cut out the heart and then shave it down to this, and then put it into the pounder. So this was in here since last fall, so I might not even use it. You know, I have a lot in the back of my building there, a lot of that stuff that's fairly fresh, you know, and that's what I'd be using. So well, I'll show you how that thing works. But like I said, these are, this one was left a little longer than it should have. But now, if you're making a potato basket, this is the size that you want. You don't want to cut that in half, because this is, look at that. See how flexible that is? Can you imagine it just came out of a tree, a hard tree, and now look at it. You can do whatever you want with it. It's that flexible. It smells good too. It smells like the black ash.
Ego igande ha ego guandu dana hey hey ego igande